Let's be brutally honest. She thought your silence was just another phase. She thought you'd text first, call first, show up, beg for closure, noir, anything to prove you still cared. But you didn't. You disappeared into that calm, cold quiet that only a man who's finally had enough can hold. And now, she's starting to feel it. That silence she once mocked, it's echoing louder than her own thoughts. Because when a man goes silent, truly silent, it's not about ego or games. It's about exhaustion. You reach a point where you stop explaining your worth to people who act blind to it. You stop chasing validation from the very hands that dropped you. You just vanish. And that vanishing becomes your loudest statement. See, women are used to noise. Arguments, emotional reactions, attention. When you go quiet, it disrupts her entire sense of control. She starts replaying everything she said, every message she ignored, every moment she thought she could do better. At first, she tells herself you're just playing hard to get. Then a few days turn into weeks. Weeks into silence. And that silence, it starts to haunt her. Because it's no longer about you chasing her. It's about her confronting herself. And that's the one battle she can't win easily. The truth is, your silence does what your words never could. It exposes everything she took for granted. You didn't have to argue. You didn't have to prove anything. You just stopped showing up, and that absence hits harder than any paragraph ever could. Men don't go quiet because they stop caring. They go quiet because they finally see the truth. That their presence became too easy to overlook. That their loyalty became routine. That their love became assumed, not appreciated. And once you see that clearly, you can't unsee it. You start to realize that peace is louder than pain. That distance is more powerful than attention. And that sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's evolution. You've outgrown the need to be understood. You've outgrown trying to fix what refuses to heal. And here's the part she didn't expect. Your silence has energy. It's magnetic. It draws her in not because you're trying to impress her, but because she feels the void you left behind. You became unpredictable, mysterious. Suddenly, she's not in control anymore. You are. This is the moment most men never reach. They break too early. They text back when they should have let her wonder. They try to explain when they should have stayed silent, but not you. You finally understood that silence isn't the absence of communication. It's a statement of power. It says, I don't need to prove anything anymore. And that silence, it's starting to scare her because she's realizing she doesn't have the same hold she used to. She's realizing that your calm means she lost something real, something she can't replace. Now she's checking your social media, asking mutual friends, replaying old memories. Not because she misses you, but because she can't figure out when she lost control. And that's when it hits her. The silence isn't about her anymore. It's about you finally choosing yourself.
At first, she tells herself you're just sulking, that you'll come back once the anger fades. She's confident, almost smug, because in her mind, you've always come back before. You've always been the one to fix things, the one to swallow pride, send the first message, make peace even when you weren't the one who started the war. But this time, something feels different. She scrolls through her phone, expecting to see your name light up her notifications. Nothing. Hours pass. Days. That unread chat thread becomes heavier than any argument you ever had, because deep down, she knows. When a man stops reaching out, something inside him has shifted forever. You see, women are intuitive. They can sense when your silence isn't just distance, it's detachment. It's not about ignoring her anymore. It's about outgrowing her emotionally. She starts to feel it in her gut, that quiet dread that maybe, for the first time, she's the one being left behind. And that's when her mind turns against her. She starts replaying old moments, trying to find the exact point where she lost your respect. She remembers the tone you used in your last conversation, calm, too calm. The way you said, take care, like you actually meant goodbye. It didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like closure. And that scares her more than any argument ever could, because when a man is done, he doesn't yell. He doesn't beg. He doesn't try to make her understand. He just walks away quietly and never looks back. That's what makes your silence so terrifying to her. It's the finality behind it, the knowing, the peace. She thought you'd be angry, emotional, maybe even bitter. But you're not. You're centered, detached. You stopped reacting. And that calm energy is what's driving her insane, because women know the moment a man stops reacting, he's no longer emotionally controlled by her. And that's when she loses power. Now she starts to notice things she never cared about before. You're online, but not responding. You're out living, posting, smiling, and it doesn't look forced. It looks free. That's when the panic begins. The same woman who once said she needed space now starts craving your attention again. She tests the waters, a random story reaction, a "hey stranger," a subtle memory in a post. And when you don't bite, it sends her into deeper confusion. Because now she's chasing certainty. She wants to know if she still has that effect on you. But your silence gives her nothing to hold on to. It's not revenge. It's not manipulation. It's transformation. You stopped performing for her validation. You stopped caring about proving your worth. You started moving in silence. And that silence is power. You've become what every man eventually must, unbothered. A man who doesn't need to be seen to know his value. You learned that emotional control is the highest form of dominance, and that silence is the loudest form of self-respect. She's starting to understand what she lost, not just the relationship, but the energy you brought, the stability, the reassurance, the sense of safety she could always return to. Now, all of that is gone, and she can feel the void where your presence used to be. It's a quiet kind of regret, the kind that doesn't scream, it just lingers. It follows her into the night when she scrolls through old messages, realizing how different your tone was in the end. It wasn't needy, it wasn't desperate, it was done. That's when she realizes she pushed away a man who loved her enough to stay, and now he's learned to live without her. That silence? It's her mirror now. It's showing her what she really lost. A man who cared deeply, but finally cared about himself more. Something strange happens when your silence stretches past the point of expectation. It flips the script. The woman who once had the upper hand starts second-guessing herself. At first, she was certain she could replace you. That confidence fades the longer you stay quiet. Because silence, real silence, isn't emptiness. It's presence. It's power contained. Now she's caught between confusion and curiosity. She wonders what changed. Did you meet someone new? Did you finally move on? She replays everything in her head trying to find clues, but you've given her nothing, and that nothingness is driving her insane. She used to know your patterns, your moods, your weaknesses. Now she's staring into mystery, and mystery is the one thing women can't ignore. Because here's what they'll never admit out loud. A man who's calm, composed, and distant triggers their deepest instinct, the instinct to pursue. She may not message you, but she's watching. She's keeping tabs. She's reading between the lines of every post you make. The less you reveal, the more she imagines. And imagination is more powerful than any message you could send. You've become unpredictable. And unpredictability creates attraction. Not the shallow kind, but the kind that pulls from curiosity and fear. Because now she's wondering, what if he really doesn't care anymore? That question echoes louder than any argument ever did. See, in her world, men are supposed to react. They're supposed to chase, explain, and compete for attention. But you've removed yourself from that system. You stopped giving emotional feedback. You stopped feeding the loop. You became silent, not out of spite, but out of evolution. And that shift changes everything. Now she's the one scanning your photos for meaning. She's the one comparing herself to the women who might be around you. She's the one feeling that quiet anxiety that maybe. She pushed away the one man who actually meant what he said. It's not about wanting you back, not yet. It's about realizing she's lost something that validated her sense of importance. And here's the truth no one tells men. Once a woman starts to miss your energy, it's already too late for her to control it. Because missing someone isn't about love. It's about absence. It's about the void that silence creates. You took your presence away, and now her mind is trying to fill that space with what ifs. What if he's better now? What if he never cared at all? What if he's happier without me? Your silence is forcing her to confront what she avoided, the reality that she had something real and underestimated it. The power dynamic has completely reversed. You're no longer the man hoping for her attention. You've become the man she can't stop thinking about. Not because you're chasing, but because you're not. And this is where emotional gravity shifts. You don't chase her energy anymore. She chases yours. Not through words, but through thoughts, curiosity, and longing. And the deeper she sinks into that mental loop, the more she realizes she's not just missing you. She's missing who she was when she had your attention. That's what makes silence such a weapon. It strips away illusions and leaves only truth behind. You didn't win by punishing her. You won by growing beyond the version of yourself she expected to control. You became a man who doesn't react, doesn't beg, doesn't explain. And that kind of peace terrifies people who only understood you through your noise. She wanted to test your strength. You showed her your silence. And now she's learning what every woman eventually does. When a man finally learns to be still, no one can shake him anymore. When a man reaches that rare stage of silence, the one born not from hurt, but from healing, something profound shifts inside him. You stop waiting for her to notice. Stop hoping she understands. Stop needing her to see your worth. Because now your focus turns inward. That silence that once felt heavy starts to feel sacred. You begin to realize it's not punishment. It's protection. You're no longer reacting to her energy. You're guarding yours. You stop replaying the past, not because you forgot it, but because you finally accepted it. The truth doesn't sting anymore. It just sits quietly. You understand that she was never meant to complete you, only to reveal the parts of you that needed healing. And in that silence, you begin to rebuild the man she never truly knew. You wake up with peace instead of panic. You stop checking your phone first thing in the morning. You move through your day without wondering if she's thinking about you. That's not coldness. That's clarity. Because peace doesn't need attention. It just needs direction. You start to invest that energy back into your own purpose, your body, your goals, your vision. The same silence that scared her is now shaping you. And as you rise, she begins to feel it. She may not see it directly, but she senses your shift. That emotional tether she once used to pull you back doesn't work anymore. You've gone quiet, but your energy has become louder than ever. You're no longer orbiting her world. She's watching you build your own. That's when the regret hits. It's not instant. It creeps in slowly. She starts noticing how other men don't give her the same calm you did, the same patience, the same presence. She scrolls through your old messages, searching for traces of that version of you that once worshipped her, and realizes it's gone. You didn't just move on, you evolved. And evolution is something no one can undo. She'll test you again, maybe through nostalgia. A random "I miss us." A comment on an old photo. A message that sounds casual, but carries a hidden question. Do you still care? But you've changed too much to respond from the same place. You'll read it, maybe smile, and move on. Not out of anger, but out of understanding. You finally see that not every connection deserves another chance. That's when your silence becomes something divine. It's no longer about her. It's about you respecting your growth enough not to go backwards. You've stopped needing closure from someone who couldn't even give you consistency. You've stopped explaining your piece to people who only brought chaos. And in that space, you realize something powerful. Your silence was never meant to make her regret losing you. It was meant to remind you of your strength, to show you how much power you had once you stopped giving it away. You learned that not every goodbye needs to be spoken. Some are just lived. Some are written in distance, in discipline, in quiet strength. Now your silence isn't empty. It's filled with purpose. Every time you choose not to react, you're choosing yourself. Every time you don't explain, you're protecting your peace. Every time you don't chase, you're proving you were never meant to. And that, right there, is the moment most men miss. When silence stops being a strategy and becomes a lifestyle. When you realize that calm is the new power and control is the new confidence. You're not playing games, you're living in alignment. Because once a man becomes comfortable in his silence, the world bends around his energy. She may still think about you, still talk about you, still try to pull you back, but she's no longer your world. You've become your own. There comes a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when the silence that once felt like loss transforms into something else entirely. Freedom. You stop carrying the weight of what could have been. You stop replaying her words, stop decoding her actions, stop waiting for her to suddenly get it, because deep down, you finally do. You get it now. She was never supposed to stay. She was supposed to wake you up. Your silence taught her the lesson she didn't think she'd ever have to learn, that not every man waits forever, that not every heart can be taken for granted, that when a man who once gave everything finally gives nothing, it's not bitterness, it's enlightenment. You walked away not to punish her, but to protect your peace, and that difference is what separates boys from men. Now, she's the one staring at her phone, wondering how the man who once chased her warmth could become so still, so unmoved. She'll remember your words, your patience, your loyalty, and she'll feel it, the absence that only comes when a man with a genuine heart goes silent. That kind of silence doesn't just fade, it lingers. It echoes in the spaces where your voice used to be. And here's the truth most men never realize until it's too late. When you finally go quiet, that's when she starts hearing everything you ever tried to say, every ignored effort, every time you showed up, every moment she dismissed. Silence has a strange way of replaying everything, not in your mind, but in hers. And that's where the real regret begins. She'll tell herself she's fine. She'll date. She'll post. She'll pretend. But when the lights go off and the noise fades, she'll feel it. That ache for the man who didn't just want her body, but saw her soul. The one who cared too much until caring became exhausting. The one who walked away, not because he stopped loving her, but because he started loving himself more. Meanwhile, your silence has become your foundation. You've rebuilt from it. You've learned to love your own company. You've realized that peace isn't found in her arms. It's found in your purpose. You've become grounded, disciplined, focused. The world looks different now. You no longer move out of fear of losing someone. You move with certainty that no one can take away what's meant for you. And that's what makes your silence so powerful. It's not an act of revenge, it's an act of rebirth. You don't speak to prove, you don't react to show strength. You exist in your own energy, and people feel it. The same woman who once thought she could replace you now feels your absence like a shadow she can't escape. This is the kind of silence that leaves a legacy. It's the calm that follows after every storm you once survived. It's not lonely, it's liberating. Because the truth is, peace doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need validation. It only needs a man strong enough to sit with it. And that's who you've become. So when she finally reaches out, maybe months later, maybe never, you won't need to prove anything. You won't need to respond from ego. You'll smile because you'll know. The silence did its job. It protected you long enough for you to become who you were meant to be. And maybe she'll finally understand that the silence wasn't punishment. It was closure. Not for her, for you. Now I'll ask you something, man to man. When she finally realizes she lost the man who would have done anything for her, will you let her back in? Or will you let your silence finish the story it started? Drop your answer in the comments. Your story might be the one that helps another man see his worth.